Welcome to SUTV Live, where today it's a slightly later than usual start time for a Saturday afternoon. We'll bring you all of the build-up ahead of the 5:30 p.m. kickoff as the Blades travel to Peterborough. We've got lots on the way for you as well over the next 60 minutes. We'll bring you the team news shortly, and we'll be hearing from our new signing. That's Adam Davis, alongside manager Paul Heckingbottom, Jack Robinson and Oliver Norwood. All of the broadcasting regulations relating to today's game can be found by going to the website sufc.co.uk. We're all set for another Blades match day on SUTV Live. Well, welcome along, a very good afternoon. As I touched upon, a 5:30 p.m. kickoff, a little bit different this afternoon, but the Blades head to London Road, or the Western Home Stadium, as it's now been aptly named, looking to get 3 points against Peterborough United. As always, as we build up to a Blades game day, I'm joined by two guests. The first needs no introduction. He is our ever-present on the team this season, and judging by his comments following the win over Luton last week, I imagine not only is it a very good afternoon, but it's a confident Kevin Gage that joins us.
Yes, good afternoon, Richard.
What do you expect from today's game? How confident are you about the shape this team are in right now?
I'm very confident, and I have to say I thought we were excellent against Luton, albeit Luton were a poor side. I expected better from them, but I thought we controlled the game superbly. So I think we're in a great position to go into today's match.
Well, let's certainly hope so. Alongside Kevin Gage, a man who knows all about helping the Blades get promotion back into English football's top flight. He is, of course, as well, and will forever be, the first scorer of a Premier League goal in England. It is Blades legend Brian Deane.
How you doing, Richard?
You never get sick and tired of hearing that, do you?
Never.
OK, well, let's turn our attention then to this afternoon's match down at Peterborough. We all know what happened earlier in the season, and we'll talk about that in more detail a little bit later. A thrilling 6-2 win, but more recently, of course, the Blades had that long layoff due to postponements, COVID related, with other teams and so on, and then they threw away a 2-goal lead at Preston, got a point, but won 2-0 last weekend. So what are our thoughts about Sheffield United and where they're at right now, Kevin?
Well, as I said earlier, I think we're in a really good position. We always like to look at the league table and see where we're placed, and we're obviously mid-table. We've got those games in hand, and we were joking the other week about we always just give us the points. Whatever games in hand we've got, we give us the points. It's not quite as easy as that. But we've got 2 tricky away games to come, obviously tonight and then Birmingham next Saturday. And if we can get something out of both these games, ideally 4 points, brilliant for 6 points, we're in such a good position for this run-in, because we've got a stretch of games where we've got 12 games at home and only 7 away. And all the top teams have to come here as well. Bournemouth have to come here, Fulham come here, West Brom come here. A lot of promotion contenders come here, so it really will be in our hands.
Yeah, it's understandable, isn't it? We talk about those potential promotion rivals, but it's games like this, Brian, isn't it? When you're going to lowly Peterborough, who are in the bottom 3, you have to make the most of it and take 3 points, don't you?
Yeah, and I think I echo what Kevin has said. I think that they will be going into this game full of confidence. And as we've also spoken about, Birmingham, we know Birmingham have had a lot of issues off the field, and I think I'd be confident to say that 6 points is possible from the next 2 games. And then the one thing that has really come to the forefront since Paul Heckingbottom took over was there seems to be more of a consistent message coming out with the performances. And if you translate that and you think about what Kevin said about the running, 12 games at home, with the big teams to come here rather than us having to go and travel, that can equate to a healthy advantage. And we know about teams going into the playoffs, going in there with momentum, and how that can end up being an advantage. This has been a very stop-start season for a number of reasons. But let's be honest, by the time we get to that end of the season, if we're playing well, then you're going to have to fancy the Blades are putting a really good charge.
Yeah, and as you say, with all the big teams still having to come here to Bramall Lane, that is the scenario you would want as a player and a manager when you look at the end of season running, isn't it? But you look before Christmas, Sheffield United just gone to Fulham, they'd got a valuable 3 points there. Those postponements with COVID and so on, Kevin, they couldn't have come at a worse time, could they?
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, was it? I mean, lots of other clubs had postponements,
Yeah.
but we seemed to get the worst of it. We got all of them in a couple of 3 weeks, didn't we?
Well,
We didn't have a game for ages,
three
did we?
games in the league since the beginning of January, haven't they?
Yeah, maybe that affected us a bit. I mean, we didn't play very well at Derby. It was a poor game all round, and Derby won it with a couple of individual bits of brilliance, really. But we weren't poor at Derby. Preston, we all know about. It felt like we'd lost 4-0 at the end of that game, and we'd actually gone to Preston and got a decent point, because they're no mugs either. So, as I say, it was good to get back to winning ways against Luton. And if you look at the results we've had since Hecky's took over, I mean, it's been we'd have snapped your hand off beforehand. You know, if you look at them up there, at the start of his reign, before the Bristol City game, we'd have taken those results all day long. So, as I say, Brian's right. We are playing with a lot of confidence. We're looking a good, solid team at the moment. We've got strength in depth as well. We've got a very, very strong bench. You look at our team today, we'll look at it later. I mean, we've got some quality on that bench as well, ready to get fit and to come back in the side if needed. So, as I've already mentioned, with the home games, we know what it's like down here if we can get on a roll. Me and Brian have experienced it. You know, Tuesday night down here, if you win a Saturday game, then you're looking forward to Tuesday night down here under the lights. Fantastic, you know, bring it on. We could really do some damage at home to some of the really good sides in this division.
Yeah, we saw that graphic there. 13 points from a possible 18, as you rightly say, would have taken that when Paul Heckingbottom was named permanent manager here. And then if we can look at Peterborough's recent form as well, how that contrasts, just the one win. I think I'm right in saying in the league, they've only had one clean sheet in their last 16 games. So everything points to Sheffield United being able to win this evening. How important is patience going to be there?
Yeah, look, I mean, let's be honest, you go into a team that are struggling at the moment, and, you know, you can either look at it and say, shall we get on the front foot, shall we go after them, or do we wait and see what kind of reaction they get? You know, I think that they've got to, yes, be patient, but at the same time, you have to go for these games. You have to try and establish yourself from minute one. You know, you allow the home team to get any kind of momentum. That's what the players are looking for, and then the crowd get behind them. And we saw that when we played against Blackburn, didn't we? We spoke about it where, you know, for me the idea was to jump on it from the first whistle, and we did too, but then we sat off. I think we go for this. You know, the players are confident. You know that it's the same team, and we've got to go.
Let's have a look at the league table as it was before the 3 p.m. games got underway today. And see from 6th place, Huddersfield Town, the last of those playoff spots, currently on 44 points, all the way down to 18th. That's 13 teams divided by just 12 points. I'm not sure I can remember the last time the championship table was this congested at this stage of the season.
Yeah, we've been saying this for a while. The league's concertinaed together, isn't it, this season? And it's been said before, you know, everybody can beat everybody else, which is so true. There's only Fulham kind of pulling away. Bournemouth have been caught up now. West Brom were doing great at the start of the season. They've dropped back into the pack. And it's interesting, I mean, I found out just this morning, because I did a bit of research on it, the average points needed to sneak into the 6th place playoff is 74. So you look at how many games we've got left, and those 12 home games we've got, you know, that's eminently doable. I really do think so. So it's not a lot of points, you know. So I mean, the top two I think is probably out the window now. I think to reach the average for getting in one of the top 2 spots is 84 points. So I think, you know, that's a hard going. But 74 is definitely achievable. It might be even less, of course. Leicester got in there one year with 68 points.
2 points a game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's doable. With all the home games, it's doable.
There as well, gents. I mean, when we get to kick off at 5:30. Everybody above Sheffield United will have played at least 2 games more, some 3, some 4. I know you touched upon it right at the top of the show, but as players, do you do the mental arithmetic and say, well, that's 9 points for us? Or as Paul Heckingbottom would turn around to us and say, no, forget the games in hand, I would have rather played them and have points on the board? Which way do you go?
Well, it's difficult because with it being a late kick-off, I know as a player, you're kind of looking and you're thinking about, you know, how the results have gone, and then you think about how you have to mentally prepare for the next 90 minutes, you know, and you can go from a scenario where the results have gone for you and then you're kind of getting in the spot, but then if it's not, and the teams are pulling away, you're then having to drag yourself out. So it's the kickoffs at this time of the night are really tough on players, and the manager as well will have to be doing a good job with his staff to make sure that everybody is in the right frame of mind, because that's really important.
You're the optimist, Kevin, isn't it? You've given us the points already, haven't you?
Oh yeah, we've got those. We're sitting in 7th already for me. You know, we've won those games in hand.
Fantastic. Well, let's look at the team news then ahead of this afternoon's game at Peterborough United. Unsurprisingly, it's an unchanged starting 11. The keen-eyed amongst you will notice that the name of Adam Davies appears on the subs bench. That's the goalkeeper brought in by Paul Heckingbottom early this week from Stoke City. But I don't think anybody's surprised, are we, that Heckie's going with the same 11 again?
No, it's as you were, isn't it? That tells the story. The team's picking itself at the moment. It really is. I couldn't. Perhaps Ender Stevens, if he was fit, he would get the nod over Norrington Davis. But everybody else is like a regular pick. Jack Robinson, you know, maintaining his form and his place in there, deservedly so, in my book as well. So I think Ben Davies is coming back into the fray soon. He'll be fit. But I think Robinson, you know, deservedly keeping his place. He's doing great in there. Okay,
Kevin. Well, you mentioned Rhys Norrington Davis starting once again this afternoon. Just before we went on air, I got a chance to have a few quick words with Norrington Davis ahead of today's trip. Rhys, we appreciate your time joining us ahead of kick-off this afternoon. Slightly unusual, I guess, on a Saturday with a 5:30 kick-off.
Yeah, no, obviously it's a little bit later than usual, but obviously we've prepared right for the game, so yeah, nothing less to expect.
Yeah, and after the way you guys took care of Luton Town last weekend, I imagine everyone's chomping at the bit to get back out on the field, aren't they?
Yeah, no, obviously everyone's raring to go. The preparation's been right, so hopefully we can just go out on the pitch now and do what we need to do.
And of course, everybody remembers the first meeting between you two this season. 6-2 win for the Blades. What are your recollections of that day?
Yeah, no, a 6-2 win. Obviously back at the lane. It was a good day. Obviously we'd like to be tighter at the back today, keep a clean sheet and go out and be fluid with how we are up top of the pitch and hopefully score quite a few goals.
All right, Rhys, well, we hope it goes well for you this afternoon. We're certainly hoping for another Blades win. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
Rhys Norrington Davis there. We thank him for his time as the Blades prepare for this afternoon's clash. Brian, interesting there that when I brought up the first meeting, that 6-2 win, Rhys Norrington Davis wasn't getting caught up in that very level-headed approach. We have to first and foremost keep a clean sheet. Absolutely,
because I think that when you're in this situation, you know that what you've already done, you know that there's perhaps going to be a reaction from from Peterborough. But as long as you know you can match that to begin with, then you would think that the quality would take you through. So it's all about mind games, you know, these things. And he's had the right approach there. You know, you've got to deal with what's in front of you first, and then let's see where the extra quality can actually make a difference.
Kevin, you said just before we threw to Rhys there that perhaps if Ender Stevens was fit, he'd get the nod ahead of Rhys, but how impressed have you been with the way Rhys has played?
Yeah, he's done fine, hasn't let anybody down, he's been steady. I just said that because I think Ender Stevens is probably a more cultured player all round. You know, I think he's better going forward as well, just gives us a little bit of extra creativity going forward, and as a wing back that's vital obviously. But listen, Norrington Davis, if he played the rest of the season, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. I don't think it weakens us massively. I think he's doing great.
Okay, well, Rhys there said first and foremost he'd like a clean sheet this afternoon. If Sheffield United can keep it tight at the back, that will be back-to-back clean sheets as we reflect now on last weekend's 2-0 win over Luton Town.
United in their red and white striped shirts, run away. Sky Bet Championship action. Now Bogle, early cross, looking for Billy Sharp. Might come for Norrington Davis. Norrington Davis drills the shots into the thigh there of Rhys Burke. Up towards the edge of the penalty area. Brewster hits one. Really got hold of that one. Had to come deep to get on the ball, but when he did, that was a really good strike. Passion with the cross. Looking for Sharp. Headed away on as far as Njayi. Iliman Njayi takes aim, takes a deflection, corner kick. Arahan's corner. Looking for Sharp. Egan will retrieve it. Plenty of red and white shirts in the mix. Egan crosses. Sharp jumps again. Might come for Brewster. It's a routine save. It's looking for Brewster. Flicked header might come in for Bogle, drills one across the area, and then Brewster! Just what the Blades needed at the start of the second half. And it's Rian Brewster. His 4th goal of the season. United break the deadlock. Perfect start to the second half. And it goes. Chance here, Robinson! All on his own. Jack Robinson heads his first goal of the campaign. And quick as a flash, United are 2 in front. Harahan's delivery, keeper stays at home. Shot comes in from Njai, now Brewster! And it goes, it's a dangerous cross again, it might break to the edge of the box, and it's thumped over. Norwood, decent ball into the mix. Basham here, in goes the cross, might come to the far side. Norrington Davis, and then sliced over his own bar by Gabriel Osho. Berger takes it on, Berger to the byline, drills it low. Norrington Davis, it was slightly behind him, he was off balance. And there is the final whistle. Sheffield United back to winning ways.
A big win for Sheffield United last week, and worth pointing out as well, Kevin, that was against a Luton Town team that had gone into that game in pretty good form.
Yeah, we expected them to be a lot better than they were, I think. Now whether we made them look a poor side, but we had 25 shots. You don't see all of them there. You know, we'd have been going for 5 minutes on that VT there. But we really did take the game to them, especially in the second half, obviously. And once they had a man sent off, it was literally game over. Not like Preston, who came back. Luton were never coming back last week. Yeah, and if Sheffield United get 2 up again this afternoon, we don't want any Preston encore performances. Thank you very much. Who were the standout performers for you in that game? I would say, I mentioned in commentary, I think Bogle has been superb in the last month or so. He just gets better and better and better for me. He's everything you want from a wing-back, you know. He's going forward all the time. He's got good feet when he gets in the box. He cuts inside. He can shoot with his left foot. His crossing's getting better as well. He seems to deliver the ball into the right areas more often than not. And I've been really impressed with him defensively. I've always been slightly concerned about his defensive qualities, and not a liability as such, but maybe a weakness in his defensive play. But he's been noticeably getting in more tackles and getting in early contacts with his opposite number and winning the ball very cleanly at times. We just saw an instance of it there. And it stops the momentum of the opposition in their tracks. We know what he's like going forward. Very unlucky not to get away with that one there. And he's just brilliant going forward. But as I say, he's added a new dimension to his game in the past 6 weeks or so. He's looking a really good quality player.
As a striker, Brian, how much does it help you when you know you've got somebody like Jayden Bogle out wide who's going to deliver that ball first time into the box?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the clips of him, he seems to have grown in confidence. And you know, the thing is, he does different things. So he'll get to the byline and he'll cut it back, or if he's in a wider position, he'll whip it in. So he understands what's required from his delivery, you know, to make it easier for the forward, for example. So no, it's always good when you see that, because you know, sometimes I've played with fullbacks, for example, not you, Kevin, but I've played with fullbacks who just think, I'll put the ball in the box and I've done my job. You know, it really matters to him from what I've seen, and these are the, you know, those are the kind of players you want to play with, especially if you're a forward who can get across people. You know, he seems to understand where and when to play and with what pace as well.
Well, it matters to him, and it clearly matters to manager Paul Heckingbottom as well. Let's get his thoughts now following that 2-0 win against Luton.
There was clear disappointment when you brought Rian Brewster off in the second half, brought Sander Berger on. I think that there was some boos from the cop and what have you. Do you just want to explain your thought process behind that one?
Yeah, well, he's coming back from a long-term hamstring injury. He's got more minutes again today. We're pushing him hard in training. So that's the reason for this substitution. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Same as Illiman. Illiman came off. He'd got cramp. And if I'm honest, I thought they were both leggy today. So we want more. We want them better than they were today. They were good, and in flashes, Illiman showed what he's all about. And Rian got his goal, which we're pleased about. But we still want more from them. They're miles away from where we think they can be, and they'll be pushed. And I say, well, it's our job to get on the nerves. It's our job to push the players and make sure that they're giving more, and we'll make sure that we do that. So yeah, really pleased with them both today. The reason with the substitutions was they're not. In my point, if you have to come off, then you need to get fitter. You've got to work harder.
You got Ollie Mcburney back on the pitch today as well. That's a real boost, isn't it? I know it'll take time to get him up to speed, but to have him as an option.
Yeah, and we were trying to do that when he came out. So him and Dids, for example, were off with COVID at the same time, and then came back at the same time, and we could see plain as day straight away that Dids hadn't suffered too much from it, and he was back up to speed. Ollie was trying and giving everything, and I was just about to pull him and say, look, we need to. And then he was ill, broke down with other complications, and so he's had a longer run, out of the team or out of training. But this last 10 days, 2 weeks, 10 days, he's looked totally different in the building in terms of physically being able to cope with what we're throwing at him. Responded really well. So, we made the choice to keep him out the last two squads to get a lot more work into him because he's missed so much. So, we're pleased to have him back in now.
So a good win for Sheffield United last weekend. Good to see Ollie Mcburney getting a run out as well after his injury problems. But interestingly there, Brian, Hecky saying that he wasn't unhappy, that players were unhappy at being pulled off before the end. You've played in successful teams here at the Lane. Was that the case when you played? And if so, does it bode well for the team as a whole going forward? Yeah,
I mean, I think what it shows is that everybody wants to contribute. And, certainly, when you're being pulled off, it's hard to kind of comprehend, especially when you're in a good moment. Let's be honest, if everything's going wrong, you can't wait to get off the pitch. But it certainly shows that everybody's pulling in the same direction and everybody wants to be contributing to those kinds of performances. So I think it's a great thing. I think that when you're building that kind of camaraderie in the changing rooms, it bodes well.
I remember, Kevin, being sat here with you a month or two into the season and saying, well, we don't really see the options at the time for how Sheffield United can change it around. You look at that performance last weekend, you look at the team sheet starting today as well. There are options there now. Things have changed quite markedly as the season has gone on.
Yes, there are definitely options. I mentioned before about having a very strong bench, and that's certainly the case, yeah. We've got McBurney on the bench now, he's back fit. We've got John Fleck. I mean, John Fleck's on the bench. 6 months ago, we'd have gone, what's going on here? He's the first name on the team sheet. I don't know how Dino can talk about being subbed, by the way, because he's never subbed in his life. can't bring Brian Deane off, can you? Never happened.
We're talking about my Sheffield United career. I've been plenty of places elsewhere.
But exactly right. You don't want to leave the pitch when you're 2-0 up, 3-0 up. Sometimes the manager does it to get a response from the crowd.
Yeah.
If it's Njai and he's had a fantastic game and he scored 2 goals, 5 minutes to go, bring him off. It's not a problem at all. But I get what he means. I think a key part of our success has been the camaraderie and the spirit that they've obviously engineered behind the scenes. McCall is a big part of that. Jack Lester will be a big part of that. The other guys. So I think that's all part of it, and that translates well onto the pitch. You can see the enthusiasm and desire the players have got.
Okay, well, while Brian and Kevin have a moment to discuss the rights and wrongs of Brian being pulled off prematurely in the middle of a game, we'll hear now from the second goal scorer last weekend, Jack Robinson.
How important was it today to get back to winning ways after what happened at Preston in the week and the disappointment at Derby last weekend?
Yeah, we spoke about that straight away. We corrected the wrongs that we made in that game today. It was something that Hecky straight away, we sat down at a meeting, went through all the clips and stuff like that, and I think we controlled the game perfectly when they went down to 10 men. We were much more solid today and not as open as Tuesday, and deserved 3 points.
Should you have gone on and won more comfortably as a team today? There was hatfuls of chances in that final half an hour once you got a man up.
Yeah, I think if Reece had his shooting boots on, he could have had that trick, to be honest. He kept getting further up the stands with his shot, so he'll be in striker training, striker finishing with Jack on Monday. So yeah, but as I say, it was a good performance anyway. We'll take it.
You've still got a couple of games in hand. There are more home games than away games left. You're getting a few players back from injury. Is it now a key to kind of build on today? If you can get on a bit of run, you can feel like you can get yourselves back in and around that top 6.
I think we don't want to look too far ahead. We're just going to take it game by game. As we did today, we looked at Tuesday, weren't good enough, took it to Saturday, got the performance we needed and got the 3 points. So we're going to do that every week, I think, and who knows where we'll be at the end of it.
consistency the key then, essentially, after this week?
Yeah, for sure. Consistency, obviously in this league, consistency is key. So if we can improve on that, then I'm sure we'll fly up the league.
And nearly 28,000 inside today after a 55-day wait for a home game. What was it like out there in terms of the atmosphere and just being able to be playing back at Bramall Lane?
Yeah, it was nice to be at home. Not got the pressure, the away fans, had the support of the home fans, which was really good again. And it just spurred us on, to be honest, all game. So, yeah, very nice to be at home, and hopefully we can get a few more wins here.
Little celebration tonight before you move on?
No, just concentrate Monday now. Want to keep it going, so I don't want to spoil it.
Good man, thanks Jack.
Cheers, thanks.
And we'd certainly love to see Jack Robinson continue in that vein of form as well at Peterborough a little later this evening. Let's talk a little bit about Rian Brewster as well, because he's suddenly hit the type of form that he was brought to this club for. If we can look at this graphic of his recent form as well now. 3 goals for Rian Brewster, 16 shots, winning balls in the air, and all in the last 5 starts, Brian. That is a player who seems now to be playing with a lot more confidence than we've seen it since.
Definitely, and it's, look, as a forward, when you're having a hard time, you're looking for something to grab onto. You know, once you've grabbed onto that, you want to keep hold of it. You know, his goals, to me, and his place is definitely somebody who's now full of confidence and is thinking, I don't want to go back to that dark place. You know, he's taking shots on the turn. He's doing all the things that we saw that enticed the club to buy him. And he would have grown and matured, reflecting on how things were. So, you know, we now have a forward who's coming into form at the right time of the season. You know, we've got Billy, who's a big contributor. You know, but Rian is the guy who has come up through the pack to claim that place. And for me, it's who you would want to do it as well, because he's a young forward. And that's going to mean so much to the club, having him scoring these goals in this period of time.
And it's easy to get carried away, Kevin, with the price tag that he came for. It was a lofty tag, the most expensive transfer in the Blades history, but he's still only young and people overlook that.
Yeah, I must admit I've been guilty of that as well. I perhaps wanted too much from him too soon, and it's taken time for him to settle down. But I think he's really starting to show his value to the team. I agree entirely what Brian says. Also, what else he brings to the team is he gives us something the other way as well. So we've got the likes of McGoldrick and Billy who will hold the ball up, and you need players like that. But we need players to stretch the opposition and to run into those channels. And he's frightening defenders. And the last 2 games we've seen players sent off because of trying to get near to him and challenge him. Because defenders are frightened of people running behind them. He's also doing a lot of work, isn't he, with the coaches I've read as well. They're working on his movement in the box. So he's not just hanging around in and around the penalty area. They're working on moving him in the box and getting across defenders and being in the right place at the right time. Now, some of that is instinctive. I've got a man here who knows all about that. But you can learn things from the likes of Billy and Jack Lester and other people in the game. And that's all part of Brewster's education, isn't it?
But when I came to the club, one of the first things that we did was we focused on the 3 areas of the box. You know, we did a lot of drills on, you know, when the ball's coming in, can we move? Somebody else automatically knows that you're pulling out of that space, somebody else is going in. And whether it was the front of the goal, the middle of the goal, or the centre area. But we also... there's ways of losing players in the box. You know, your movement's a way to create the space in front, or if you're taking somebody towards the ball and then the space is in behind. And it's that combined with the timing issue that is going to give you that space in the box.
And when he joined us here on the set at SUTV Live following that game last week, he did say he was learning every day from Billy Sharp as well. Of course, it is the January transfer window, and whilst the goals have been going in at the right end for Sheffield United, manager Paul Heckingbottom has looked to address the back end of the team this week rather, by bringing in his first signing of the window, a man he knows very well from his Barnsley days, goalkeeper Adam Davies.
Adam, welcome to the club. How pleased are you to be joining Sheffield United?
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. As soon as I heard about the opportunity, it was something that I was really looking forward to getting done, and it took a little bit of time, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, the Blades have been looking for a goalkeeper since Robin Olsen's departures, so how quick did the deal come together in the end?
It took just over a week, really. You know, I spoke to my agent, and you know, the clubs went back and forth and got the deal sorted. So yeah, absolutely buzzing to be here.
And you know Paul Heckingbottom really well from your time together at Barnsley. How pleased are you to be reunited with him once again?
Yeah, obviously we've worked with Paul before. Yeah, great guy, really good manager, really good coach. Obviously we had successful time at Barnsley together. I know what he's about, know how he wants to work and how he wants to play. So it should be quite easy to fit in. Yeah, I'm just really excited to get working.
He's had a great start since taking on the permanent role. You know him better than most. Why is he such a good manager to play under?
There's, you know, he's black and white. There's nothing in between. He tells you how it is. Everything's clear, how they want to play, how he wants us to be around the place, day in, day out. Yeah, and I'm sure it looks like the lads have taken that on board, and you know, a couple of good results in recent weeks. Yeah, I'm pushing in the right direction.
And you know a little bit about Sheffield United, obviously, because you played against a player, didn't you, early in the season at Bramall Lane? So what are your memories of that game? Yeah,
obviously, I've played there a few times over my career. Yeah, I played recently there for Stoke, and you know what an atmosphere, unbelievable stadium, unbelievable fans, you know, wicked atmosphere to, you know, hopefully play some games under.
The thoughts from new signing Adam Davies. He arrives at the Lane on a 6-month contract initially, with a view perhaps to extending that in the summer. Paul Heckingbottom said earlier this week, Kevin, that it was important he brought in a goalkeeper who's been playing football. At 29 years old, Adam Davies is somebody he knows well. What does he bring to this squad?
Well, exactly that, experience. There was no way we could rely on like one of our younger keepers. You know, if anything happened to Wes Foderingham, you know, we were struggling. As soon as Olsen went, we were struggling. So vital to get someone, not only in case of injuries, but also obviously to give competition to Wes. Now, he is the #1 keeper at the moment, and rightly so, because he's been brilliant when he stepped in for Olsen. He's now claimed that spot for himself. But there'll be healthy competition between them. They're a similar age, similar experience. So yeah, that can only be good for the Sheffield United Football Club and the squad as a whole.
Well, as we said, this is somebody that the manager knows well from his time in charge at Barnsley. So let's hear from Paul Heckingbottom now on exactly why he decided Adam Davies was the right man to come in to the club at this time.
Well, the experience of this league's a big thing, so playing a lot of games. Having played a lot of games in this league this season as well, so there's lots of goalkeepers who've not played for a long time, but we wanted someone who'd been in and around it this season as well, which is important. And then as a goalkeeper, he's got a real calm demeanour on the pitch, and is generally safe and very reliable in terms of his performances. So yeah, that's what he's based his career on.
It must be a great chance for him to get his career back on track, having not played much league football down at Stoke.
Yeah, and that's it. They've had a lot of competition there, some big name keepers, and he wants to. We've been out of contract next season. He wants to go and earn a deal. You know, whether that's here, whether that's elsewhere. As you say, he wants that first team football, and he's had honest conversations with Michael down at Stoke as well. And he, along with Stoke, thought it'd be better if he moved on, and we've capitalised on that.
And Adam Davies takes his place on the bench for this afternoon's trip to Peterborough United. And speaking of Peterborough, it's time to delve into the Bramall Lane archives now. We don't need to go too far back in history. In fact, we only need to go back to the first couple of months of this season, when these two sides met for the first time here at Bramall Lane, and it was an emphatic win on the day for the Blades.
Norrington Davis. Excellent ball out to the right-hand side for Gibbs White, who goes in field. Lovely turn, pulls it back, and Jai towards goal! And then Jai will score in his full debut! Controlled, and he's muscled off the ball here by Marriott. Marriott will come through one-on-one and score. Awful error by Robinson. Peterborough haven't had a sniff. Intercepted in the middle of the park here by Fleck. He's fed back by Sharp. Fleck will turn it beyond the keeper, and John Fleck finally to the area here for Billy Sharp round the back. Sharp will look to hold it up to the byline. Sharp will pull it back in the middle, and Ben Osborne will finish. And that is Norwood, who crosses into the area. Sharp was waiting, headed away. Cleared away. Fleck forward for Njai. Looks to continue his run. Njai, excellent footwork. Feeds it to Gibbs White, who drills it and drills it into the top corner. What a strike that is from the Wolves, Loney! Norrington Davis. Sharp now once again. Little exchange with Osborne. Byline now. Sharp pulls it back and Joy heads it in! A second on his full debut for the Blades for Iliman and Jai. Rover Johnson Clark carries, who steps up from the spot, puts it down the middle. Foderingham dives to his right. Peterborough have pulled one back here. Sharp into the middle for McBurney, into the area. Osborne in! Osborne will score! 6 of the best for the Blades at Bramall Lane.
6-2, an emphatic win, a valuable 3 points for the Blades on that occasion. And Brian Deane, I imagine, as a Blade, those are the types of afternoons you love, aren't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, just looking at the goals going in there and all the interactions in the box, you know, it's great if you're a forward here, imagining yourself trying to get on the end of some of those opportunities as well. So yeah, good times.
And as a fullback, Kevin, the chance to bomb forward, have an assist here or there as well.
Yeah, mainly for him. Always used to look out to check where he was running. I mean, games like that, I mean, it's fantastic, yeah. and that's made for the wing-back positions. As you say, the way we play, it's perfect for getting forward and getting the crosses in, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of playing here at Bramall Lane as well, isn't it? Big crowd, all pulling in the same direction, the team are up, and you just get carried on a sea of emotion, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, when things are going really well down here, it's a hell of an atmosphere to be playing in, and you know, especially as a forward, you know, you're kicking towards the cop as well. You know, some of the happiest times for me were in front of that goal. You know, and when the opportunities are coming, and you know what it's like, Kevin. Sometimes it just clicks, doesn't it? You know, you get out there. And everything's just, you know the ball's coming in, you know you've got the match on your defender and so on, and it's like, I can understand what we're talking about. Again, this is another example when we're talking about players being upset about coming off. It's because you can see opportunities for yourself.
You don't want to leave that sort of atmosphere either, do you?
Not at all.
Okay, well, we've got Peterborough United coming up shortly, but we'll look a little further ahead as well to upcoming games. The Blades are backing action on Friday evening, a 7:45 kickoff. Ashley Wilmot will be in this seat alongside our two guests once again, Brian Deane and Kevin Gage. And then from there, it's a midweek game back at Bramall Lane against West Bromwich Albion. A big one this for Sheffield United. Paul Walker will be hosting on that evening alongside Kevin Gage and Chris Morgan. Now, one to watch out for all Blades fans. It's the return of the One of Our Own podcast, hosted by Paul Walker, and this edition features a man that Brian Deane in particular will know well. Paul Stancliffe, what are your recollections of him?
Well, Paul was my first captain down here, Stan the man, you know, and what a great guy.
Yeah, nearly 300 appearances in a Blades shirt, and the skipper that guided the Blades to back-to-back promotions. Here's an excerpt from the One of Our Own podcast.
You know, I was involved in everything. You know, I mean, obviously, you say in the documentary at the Leicester, you see him in the dugout, things like that. Yeah. In the changing room, you know, but that was, it wasn't just me. There was everybody there. That was how it was. You know, it was that squad was together.
That day is etched on every Sheffield United fan's memory. The ones that were there who lived through it, and obviously there's been promotions since, but that seems to be the one that sticks out for everybody. Why?
I've no idea. I think it's because it probably took them so long to get back. You know, recent history, they've been up and down, but it took them so long to get back there. You know, and it had been so hard for the fans that had come through the sort of like the good times in the 60s and the 70s, you know, with the Currys and the Woodwards and Billy Deardens and all those. And then to see that drop all the way down to the bottom tier of English football. And then to get back, I think that was.
But it just rolls off the tongue. What's your best memory as a Blades fan? People of a certain age, Leicester 5-2. Always Leicester 5-2. There's been promotions to the Premier League since. There's been some great times since.
My
just
best
trips
memory,
off the tongue every time.
My best memory of that day, when you actually brought it home, what it meant, was when we've come off the motorway, we've come down to the bottom of the parkway, and from the parkway to Bramall Lane, fans were at the side of the road down cheering us in. And we couldn't get the bus in the car park for the fans.
That's mad, isn't it?
That's when it, I mean, you know what it means, but that's when it really hits you.
Yeah.
Honestly, we coming past the baths and the station, it was unbelievable.
Looks like it's putting a lump in your throat even now. I can see it.
Yeah.
You see it in your face. That
it does. You know, things like that
emotional
are
thing to look back
absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Some journey back then.
That was unbelievable. I mean, that was another thing. We always had a great journey back, wherever we were.
Just a taster then from the man affectionately named Stan the Man, skipper of back-to-back promotions. And when Paul talks there, Brian, about not being able to get back because the roads are lined with Blades fans, the hair starts standing on the back of your neck. Do you remember those days?
I do. They were great times. I mean, we move on, but you know, I wouldn't swap those times. You know, like Paul says, you know, you get down to the bottom of the park where there's the fans, you know, waving and everything. We're coming into the ground now. And I remember we used to have a Cooper's coach, I think it was, this bright yellow thing with Andy, the bus driver, with his bald head and his tooth missing at the front. But you know, it was unbelievable to be able to be part of that and be quite a central part. You know, as myself and all the other players, and seeing the joy that we'd given to the fans and what we'd achieved for them was amazing. It really was.
Well, as we said, that was a taster. If you want to hear the interview in full, you can download the One of Our Own podcast now from wherever you get your podcast. The full edition is available right now. Let's look ahead then to this afternoon's team news. Peterborough United hosting the Blades down at London Road, starting first of all with Peterborough United. 4 changes there. In come George Grant, Josh Knight, Joe Tomlinson, and the new boy, only signed for Peterborough yesterday, Jando Fuchs. They got a 2-2 draw coming back from 2-0 down last time out, Kevin. Are you surprised they made 4 changes?
Yeah, I am. I can't confess to know too much about the Peterborough United team. There's 1 or 2 names like Clark Harris has scored a few goals, albeit penalties mainly. But yeah, they had got a really good result down at Birmingham, and then he's made the changes. So, but obviously there might be injuries involved there. It might reflect that they haven't been a particularly successful team in the last 6 weeks, hence why they're 4th bottom of the league, of course. You know, they're fighting for their lives. So perhaps he's just trying to mix it up to try and find a winning formula. You know, anything to get a result, really. Sometimes it's done out of desperation. You might think it's being tactically cute or something, but you're just trying any kind of formation you can to get a result.
Jando Fuchs signed yesterday before midday, so he can play tonight, from Dundee United. He's a Cameroon international, but he's not playing in the African Cup of Nations, and I've heard him described as the Scottish Premiership's version of N'Golo Kante, Brian.
We're expecting big things then, aren't we?
That's a high reputation to come with, is if you're comparing him to N'Golo Kante.
Well, it remains to be seen. I'll tell you one thing I will say about Peterborough. They seem to have a knack for bringing in players, developing them and moving them on. So that's quite interesting, that one. We'll see. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get off to a good start today, but yeah, it's interesting.
Let's have a look at the Blades starting 11 then. Unchanged from the 2-0 win here at the Lane against Luton Town last weekend. We said at the top of the show, no surprises. This is a game, though, where that 11 will fancy scoring goals, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. No surprises that they kept the same team. If we play anything like we can, you know, I expect us, you know, to win this game by a couple of goals, because we talked about this earlier when Brian mentioned it. You know, as long as we compete with them, and as long as we can match their energy and their commitment, because they're bottom of the league, they're fighting for their lives, and I've no doubt we will match their energy and commitment and desire and all those adjectives. And if we do that, then our superior quality will tell, and it's up to the likes of our midfield, like Norwood, who's been superb recently, Hourahan, who's coming on leaps and bounds, and Jai to get on the ball. Bogle, as we talked about, you know, as a wing back. Those type of players will do enough creative-wise to win us the game.
There's a lot of positivity in this room right now, Brian, and rightfully so. I don't want to be the one to burst that balloon, but of their 5 wins this season, 4 have come down at London Road. How much of a banana skin potentially is this?
Well, of course it is. I mean, you know, I don't think Peterborough are ever going to be a team that's going to travel very well, given their budget and status in the league. So they will look at their home games as their real opportunities to get out of a mess. And so, yeah, it's always going to be a tough game. You know, I'm sure it's going to be a tough game. You know, we are excited because of the way how the team have been playing. But, you know, he's made 4 changes now. We don't know whether or not those changes have been enforced or whether he's brought in players to match what we've got coming at them. Like you say, this boy coming in now, it's quite an intriguing situation in that, you know, he's going to be basically in the hallway and Dai's, so it'll be interesting.
They might just do some kind of man marking job on Njai. If he's a what we call a rattler in there, if he's like
if he isn't a N'Golo Kante,
he'll look to get in and around Njai.
No one in the Championship though has conceded as many goals as Peterborough this season, 53 all told. If the Blades don't get that fast start, it is important to stay patient and not get frustrated, isn't it? Because you know chances are going to come.
Yeah, and it's natural, isn't it? As the game wears on, there's going to be more holes. The game's going to probably get stretched at some times. But that's where you rely on those players who can do a little bit more.
Kevin, final thoughts? Well, I expect us to win. Is my final thought. Yeah, but everything we've said earlier, we've got too much quality to be unduly worried about Peterborough. It's all about how we perform tonight and how we impose ourselves on the game.
Okay, Kevin, we're going to let you go now and join Matt Young ready for commentary, whilst we look ahead to an SUTV Live exclusive. Matt Young this week caught up with Ollie Norwood and started by looking back at the game against Luton, and was it just the result that the Blades needed after a shaky couple of games to start 2022?
I think so, yeah. I think it was... the Preston performance for 70 minutes was everything we wanted. Got 2-0 up first half, complete control of the game, and then we just seemed to press that self-destruct button for that last 15, 20 minutes and threw the game away, threw 2 points away. Massively disappointed, and then, you know, we dealt with it. We had the day off on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday the manager had us all in, and if that scenario arises again, how to deal with it, what we thought, what he thought, and, you know, long and behold, the scenario popped up again 2 days later. I think we managed it a lot better. No disrespect to Luton, but I think they were quite happy to see a 2-0 out. And I think we could have possibly kicked on and gone for 3 or 4, but we didn't do that. We saw the game out comfortably, and everybody went home happy.
Like you said, the parallels were incredible, but it just goes to show the character of this group that, you know, in a few days' time you managed to turn that scenario around and saw the game out comfortably in the end.
Yeah, we did. I mean, you don't want to be in that scenario too many times, 2-0 up, 10 men, and throwing away 2 goals because the goals were poor at Preston. We knew that, from myself included. So, yeah, we wanted to put that to bed, and we've done that, and we've had a good week this week on the training ground and reinforcing the message of how we want to play and how we want to go about the next game coming up.
You were very influential against Luton. How much are you enjoying your football at the moment?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed my football here. I've always said I want to spend, I've always said it, the rest of my career here probably. I really enjoy playing for Sheffield United every week. That responsibility of taking the ball and passing it about, that's my responsibility. I understand some weeks not as good as others, but yeah, I mean, you know, I'll never shy away from taking the ball and never shy away from doing what I'm asked to do by the manager. So yeah, I mean, we're in a good moment, I think, as a group, not just me personally. I think as a group, with, you know, 7 or 8 playing really well, and if you've got that on a Saturday, 7 or 8 players on top of, you know, the opposition, and 7 or 8 players are better than theirs, you're more than likely to win the game, which we've done.
Team's in great form under Paul Heckingbottom. His arrival, how much has that suited your game, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was brilliant last season. You know, you saw the bounce that we got. It was too late, obviously, to do anything, but the results we got towards the end of last season were good. The performances were a lot better. And, you know, we know what he demands as a manager, and he knows what we demand as players, and there's a good mix. You know, the senior players and the younger players now. I mean, I think Rian and Illiman the last couple of games have really clicked. Reece coming into the team, the young boys, and you know, as the senior players, we've got to lead by example and show them the way. And I think since Hecky's come in, I don't think there's been, well, probably Derby, he wasn't there, so you could say he wasn't there, but I think every other game apart from that has been really good. But you know what this league's like, it's relentless, it's demanding, and it's Saturday, Tuesday every week, and it's on to the next one, and where can we get our next 3 points?
Back to winning ways, and you mentioned where can you get the next 3 points. It'll be a tough game, won't it, against Peterborough on Saturday?
It will, yeah. They're a decent side at home. They're not going to make it easy for us. They're not going to roll over and let us do whatever we want to do. We're going to have to go there and impose ourselves, as we do. We know what it's going to take. And you know, we never rest on our laurels anyway. We never think we've cracked it or anything like that. We're too experienced for stuff like that. But you know, we're looking at trying to chase down those ones ahead of us, and who can we pull in next.
Interesting there, Brian, that Ollie Norwood emphasised it's going to be a difficult game. We're all here sat talking about, well, this is a game that Sheffield United have got to be looking to win. But Ollie Norwood, again, what we spoke about earlier, level-headed approach from all these players at the Blades. Yeah.
No, you have to be. I think there's a renewed kind of vigour and optimism in the changing rooms now. But with that comes a kind of a mindset where the players are going to be saying, well, okay, we're going on a run, let's reset, let's get ready for the next game. You know, and it's as simple as that. When you've got the whole of the changing rooms looking and working together, you kind of reset pretty quickly, and you start thinking, okay, what have we got to do next? And you start pulling people in. You know, the bigger characters in the changing room start saying, come on now, we've got to prepare for the next game, let's get on it, let's get our mindset in the right place. There's no distractions now.
Yeah, and to that end, it was interesting that Ollie Norwood there said they learned quickly in between the Preston game and the Luton game, obviously disappointment at Preston of surrendering a 2-goal lead. Going forward, that has to be a positive sign.
100%. I mean, look, they will have, you know, with the characters you have now in the changing rooms, in the manager and Stuart McCall and Jack Lester, you know, they will be plotting and saying, look guys, these are the games where we feel as though we should be winning. These are the games that are going to be tougher. And, you know, the whole kind of feeling of, you know, that's a very good squad they've got there. But the feeling now of everybody being part of it, the role, you know, whether it's subs, whether you're playing, you're all part of the team. That is going to be key to the end of the season now.
Well, let's hear from the manager, Paul Heckingbottom, then, because that's the mindset going into this game, a game that perhaps the Blades should be winning, but also one there he's got to guard a little bit against complacency.
Not really. I said it before. If anyone's going into the game thinking that we're going to come unstuck, whether that's our players, the fans, coaching staff, and they've been much more dangerous at home than they have away, you know, in terms of their goal scoring. So they certainly pose threats, and I think the fact that they do generally try and go for teams is one of the reasons why they have conceded goals. So yeah, you'd be foolish if you're going there thinking you're going to create chances and score goals, and chances are Peterborough is going to create chances and score goals. So we think it's going to be a tough game. We're going to prepare that way, and focus a hell of a lot on how we want to approach it.
And it's that argument or the dilemma of games in hand or points in the bag, isn't it, really, for Sheffield United?
Yeah, points. Give me, points. So long as you're in the right place, you know. If them points are never going to be enough, then you take the games in hand, hope, and you win them. So, yeah, we've suffered. Like I said, it weren't necessarily games called off. It was how they were called off that upset me and sort of angered us, because it was always last minute. We were the one that suffered. We're the ones now with a congested fixture list, and we thought we did everything right in terms of trying to manage COVID and get through things. But we'll just use it to drive us on, you know. It's not an excuse, it's the situation we find ourselves in. So, yeah, there'll be certainly no lack of motivation anyway.
Kick-off is fast approaching down at London Road for Sheffield United's trip to Peterborough United. A quick reminder of the broadcasting regulations surrounding this game. Go to the website sufc.co.uk for those. And Brian, as we see the players take the pitch for tonight's game, what's going to be the key if the Blades are going to get 3 points?
Well, they've got to match Peterborough in the first, I would say, 30 minutes, and then hopefully the quality will come through. And you know, for me, that's what they have to do. You know, it's all about, you know, making sure that they match Peterborough, and they should be okay, in my opinion.
We heard from Gagey a little bit earlier. He is confident going into this evening's game. What are your thoughts? How do you see it going?
Well, you know, it's 11 v 11, and I think that if you don't have the right attitude, then you're going to get punished. So that's the first thing for me that has to be right today. And if they get that right, I think it'll be a victory for the Blades.
Let's certainly hope so. Without further ado then, let's hand you over to this evening's commentary team. In a moment you'll hear from Kevin Gage, but first of all, your match commentator, Matt Young.
After return to winning ways last Saturday, United take on Peterborough, looking to cut the 9-point gap towards the top 6. With just one defeat in United's last 8 championship fixtures, the Blades, who have games in hand, are in good form against a Peterborough side who are fighting for their second-tier existence. But Posh have enjoyed the majority of their success on home soil this season, and Paul Heckingbottom's under no illusion just how tough it will be against Darren Ferguson's side, who remain in touch with the sides above them in the championship table. Kevin Gage joins me. A pivotal game for both sides for very different reasons.
Yes, it's a testing away game for Sheffield United, isn't it? It's a tight little ground. Fortunately, I think the winds died down. It battered the UK overnight and today. The pitch looks in decent condition. So all things being equal, as long as we turn up